I had to acquire $100,000 every time to buy a new house, I'd buy one house every 10 years. It just doesn't turn over that way, that fast. But if I can be creative, and like I said before, create the win-win solutions, I can do those every month. I literally can acquire a house every month, every 3 or 4 weeks. We have bought 7 homes before in 1 month using creative financing, owner financing.
This is episode number 24 of Short-Term Rental Success Stories. Welcome back to Short-Term Rental Success Stories. I'm your host, Julian Sage. This is a show where I talk to hosts about their journeys in starting and growing their short-term rental business. My goal is that you'll be able to walk away with practical information that'll help you become a better host and learn how to scale your business. If you haven't done so already, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation, to connect with the community and other professional hosts that have been featured on this show. Hey Host Nation, if you're finding value from the show, then I highly recommend that you go to shorttermsage.com/store because we have just officially launched our first store. And you can find on there things like co-host contracts. We're going to be including a lot more stuff, such as like rental arbitrage contracts, conversations, so like message templates that you can send to guests, just really good stuff that you can apply towards your business. So we had another review coming in on iTunes that I wanted to highlight. This is coming from the guest room. They said, 5 stars, always informative. I've learned so much through these podcasts. The topics are relevant with guests sharing information I can apply to my situation. Thank you so much for leaving the review. It is so nice to be able to know that the show is relevant to you, that you are finding value. That lets me know that you are definitely taking away from this show. So thank you so much for taking the time to leave that review. Today I had the honor of speaking with Adam and Asury Johnson. They're a power couple coming out of Clarksville, Tennessee, who own and operate over 41 properties, which they've acquired through subject to financing. Adam and Asury have been converting these properties into short-term rentals since 2017 and are now operating over 13 units, which they own due to creative financing. Adam and Asury share their journey from transitioning from active duty military and a medical technician to full-time real estate investors, how they've been able to grow and scale a portfolio of over 41 properties, and how anyone can acquire properties through creative financing. If you like my show notes for this episode, go to shorttermsage.com/STR24, or if you'd like my show notes sent directly to your inbox every week, then go to shorttermsage.com/show notes. With all that being said, on to this week's conversation. Hey, welcome back, Host Nation, to another episode of Short-Term Rental Success Stories. In this episode, I have the special honor of speaking with this power couple. We've got Asury and Adam. Would you please introduce yourselves and let the audience and the Host Nation know who you are and what inspired you both to get into short-term rentals?
Hi, my name's Asury Johnson, and what inspired me to get into the short-term rentals was a personal experience. We went on a family trip a few years ago, and we heard about Airbnb and decided to go ahead and try it, and we realized that it was 10 times better than getting a hotel. From then on, we were just kind of inspired and decided to try it out, just kind of go on a whim.
I'm Adam Johnson, and what inspired me was we live in a military town, and me being military myself, I've picked up and moved many times. We have so many people coming and going from our town with no place to stay for those short durations, waiting for housing. So those 3 to 10 day durations, they were in hotels, paying $120 to $150 a night. We are able to create, an opportunity for them to stay in an entire home for $60, $70, $80 a night. They love it. Their kids can run around in the backyard. They had all the amenities. It's home away from home, waiting for their new home. So that's what inspired me.
Yeah, well, thank you for your service, and I know that is a very nice niche to kind of fulfill. You're serving your military members, you're serving people that are transitioning. I think that's awesome. Would you mind, Asury, telling a little bit about your backstory and what led you into getting into real estate?
So we've been married since 2016. Before we met, I was in the medical industry. I was a medical tech for a couple years. And when I met him, he had already started the real estate journey. Maybe about a year into being married, we started growing our business. And I realized that he couldn't do everything. So I kind of quit my job, jumped in, didn't know what I was doing, but kind of figured it out together and just figured out ways to help him when he wasn't available because he was working full time, obviously.
I just think that it is. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that because you both were leaving, these full time careers that you invested your whole lives into. And Adam you said you did 15 years in the special forces. I mean, that's 5 years away from a retirement, and then you leave to do this. Why would you leave your guys' jobs to do this, and when did it really kind of scale up? Because right now you have 41 properties total. 13 of those are short-term renting. You're converting your portfolio right now. So when did you guys quit your jobs in order to really expand this?
So we saw the bigger picture probably about 18 months ago. We saw where acquiring rentals and how the rental property, you have the appreciation, the depreciation, tax write-offs, and amongst other things as far as the pros and cons of owning real estate. We saw the bigger picture of, I could stay in the military, I could do 20, 25 years, retire, and maybe make about $4,000, $5,000 a month, which is not bad by any means. But we also, I like to bet on us. We love learning the hardships or from the hardships in business. I love going back to the drawing board and fixing everything and making it better. And just the potential to be able to help people, it's great. Me serving in the military, I can't help directly. I can't affect people directly to help them with our rentals and our portfolio. And now we teach what we do as well. And we have clients who are also growing their real estate businesses as well. We're able to do more for people outside of the military, outside of the medical field. And that's the rewarding factor. That's what we love. So we saw that the light bulb came on a few months ago, and we ran with it, and we're enjoying it.
So you've scaled up to 41 properties. When did you first start with the real estate, and how long did it take for you to get to this amount?
We do have a unique story. We began in 2015. We started flipping homes. Like that's the most common thing when people think of real estate, flipping homes. Made all the mistakes you can make flipping our first house. It was not profitable. Again, made all the mistakes. Second home, everything went great. Third home, the flip went really well, but it just didn't sell. So we got a tenant in there. In the meantime, in that 18-month period, I got many, many phone calls from people who needed to sell their house, but they couldn't because they didn't have enough equity. I, again, immersed ourselves, in the books and learning about how can I help these people with no equity. And I realized there's a way to do this with owner financing. There's different variables within the owner financing realm. We have figured a way out to do to help people with no equity, with that need repairs. They don't have the money at the time to make those repairs, but we're able to help them get out from one of those mortgages. We're able to acquire a new asset, get tenants for that new asset, and just keep turning it over like that. It took us since 2016, we started employing that strategy, and we started buying, one house every 5 weeks. It seemed like we're buying a new property, getting new tenants, and turning it over.
So 2015, you started off like most people do, with the vision of the fix and flips. 2016, you started learning more about like creative finance, like the owner financing, lease options, and from there you've just scaled up. And when did it transition to now because now you're converting these units into short-term rentals? When did that kind of switch over?
That was in 2017. We took a spring break vacation a few months prior. And again, it was completely by accident. Our original plans fell through, and it was last minute. We reserved this Airbnb. We had never stayed in one before. We didn't know the process. We didn't know anything. And while we were staying there, we were kind of, looking at the place and really enjoying the amenities. And it was a total of 5 of us. We have 3 kids. So we enjoyed the space, the amenities, and then we started kind of doing the math, trying to figure out, we looked at the guy's calendar, our host calendar, and realized how booked out he was. And we were trying to do the math like, okay, how much is he paying for this place? And how much money is he making if he's charging this every single night? And we were like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
But we didn't put much thought into, there's probably a need, because this was a touristy location that we went to for vacation. We didn't really think that there was a need in our area. And few months passed, we were home, and we had a long-term tenant that ended up not moving into a rental, and she backed out for whatever reason, and we were stuck with this empty home, and it was a very small house. So I was like, hey, how about we just throw some furniture in there and rent it out on Airbnb and see how it works out. And we went very minimal with putting in furniture and amenities and everything like that. We just wanted to test it. And before you know it, it started just booking. So then we realized there's clearly a need in the area for these. And we just started brainstorming as far as like, what houses do we have available, in our portfolio that we can convert over to short terms, and what, and just learning from that first home, like, what are people really looking for? Are these size homes better fit for our clientele in the area? And we realized there's definitely a need in this area. So you don't have to be in a touristy location. That's what we realized. There's definitely, if you can find a need in the area, I always say if there's hotels in the town, there's a need.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind explaining kind of what the demographic of your clientele base for the area that you're in, because you're in Kentucky. How many people would you say is in that area, and then what type of people are you catering towards for your short-term rentals?
I would say majority of our clients are transitioning military families. They're either PCSing, where they're relocating duty stations and their family are waiting for housing, or they've just sold their house or getting ready to move out of the area. So they need that window. And obviously they probably have several kids, maybe a pet, something like that. And it's just so much easier to have a house to kind of relax in for that period of time. We also have a lot of military, what would you say, trainees or military trainees. So people that are, it's called TDY, I don't know what that stands for.
Duty station.
That are coming in the area maybe for like a couple months or a couple weeks, just depends. Again, it's so much more convenient because they can come with their family too. So, and then the rest would be, we have a college in town, so college, work contractors.
So any, it just doesn't have to be military. Any, I would say mid-sized city, there's great potential. And like she said before, if there is hotels there's obviously a need for tourists or for short-term accommodations. We're located now right off the Highway 24 between St. Louis and Georgia, Atlanta. So there's people don't realize that there's like 6 or 7 high schools here. So there's always a high school volleyball tournament. There's always a recital. There's always, you name it. There's always something going on. And people kind of, even in our town of Clarksville, Tennessee, people say, really? In Clarksville? I'm like, you guys just don't realize, the potential we have here. And that's almost any mid-sized city across the country. If there's hotels, there's a need.
We're about 45 minutes away from Nashville too. So Nashville's a very, very big hot spot. Mm-hmm. So if you don't want to spend the money, or there's just no availability on Airbnbs in Nashville, if some people are okay with the commute, get a place here and just commute 40 minutes into the city.
So this portfolio 41, you said that you own the 13, but do you actually own 41 in your portfolio? Because these are lease options. If you wouldn't mind explaining, because you're actually the first guest on our show to kind of have the strategy of this lease option to short-term rental model. So if you wouldn't mind explaining, like, what is a lease option and kind of how it's benefited you to scaling this business.
I'll try to sum it up in 2 or 3 minutes because there are books written on lease option. Lease option simply means that I can go to a seller and say, hey, seller, for whatever reason your house hasn't sold, I will give you $150,000 within 5-year period. This is for example. So the seller says, okay, because the seller may not have enough equity to sell it outright. So I will guarantee you $150,000 in a 5-year period. I will pay you rent of, let's say, $1,000 for that 5-year duration. Simple as that. So I'm leasing with the option to buy in 5 years. In my lease, I very clearly say that I will have the right to sublease, whether it be Airbnb, VRBO, or up to my discretion. So there, I'm open with the homeowner. I can go and I can go find either a long-term tenant or a short-term tenant in this matter. So I'm able to acquire a home. I'm able for the seller in this case the seller doesn't have to worry about having the home rented out. I'm liable for all maintenance issues, concerns. It all goes through me, whether I have a tenant or not. I still owe the seller, the homeowner, that monthly rent. So that it gives them that peace of mind of my house is being paid for, my house is being maintained. And no, if he can buy it in 5 years, great. If he can't, my house has been maintained, and now my house appreciated in theory over the 5 year period. So it's a great way to help people out. We do that. We do subject to, which is a similar transaction. Again, there's books written on that as well, but you don't have to be a billionaire to buy houses. You have to be creative, know the laws, and create win-win solutions. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I just think it's so cool how you both have built up this large portfolio in such a short period of time, and especially coming, medical tech, being military. These aren't like the highest paying jobs. That's very, you guys have really had to get creative with this. But what I think is just so cool about this, it's like, I don't know if you're familiar with like the rental arbitrage subleasing model, but you guys are doing like the owner financing model, but it's also kind of like rental arbitrage in a sense, because you're renting out, you're re-renting a place that you're paying a rent on, but you also have the option to purchase that. So I just think that is very cool, that because a lot of people get into the space and they just think like, I have to purchase a place, or I have to rent a place, or I have to manage a place. But you guys have kind of found this happy medium.
Yeah. Yep. So all the books you read, if I had to acquire $100,000 every time to buy a new house, I'd buy one house every 10 years. It just doesn't turn that way, that fast. But if I can be creative, and like I said before, create the win-win solutions, I can do those every month. I literally can acquire a house every month, every 3 or 4 weeks. We have bought 7 homes before in 1 month, using creative financing, owner financing ways. You can't be limited by, you should not be limited by money. And I tell our clients, like, you have to be a millionaire, you just got to go do it.
So when people are looking into maybe creative financing with short-term rentals, what are you doing when you're going to a person? Are you just looking for people that are selling, or people that are renting? Like, how do you approach it with that mindset?
So being in the military town is unique because you'll have people that are here for 3 years. They'll buy a house a year and a half into their rotation, which is not really beneficial because the market doesn't typically appreciate in the 15% that it needs to appreciate when the person moves out for them to cover closing costs. So what happens is, when a person buys the house, they almost have zero closing costs because the seller pays the realtor fees, closing costs, so on and so forth. So now if you flip over, now buyer becomes seller, seller's not prepared for that 10% expense. They don't have the money. So that's where I come in with the solution. Like I said before, you're leaving. You don't want to have to deal with this home, 4,000 miles away when you're overseas, for example. We'll guarantee you a paycheck. We'll guarantee you the maintenance, and we'll take it from here.
Now, what is the return on a owner financed home? Because with rental arbitrage, you're paying someone else's rent. They own the home, you're paying that. When you own it, you've got the mortgage. So what's the return when you are just owner financing and then flipping it to a short-term rental?
Generally speaking, over our portfolio, we average about 1.8 returns. So if our expenses, mortgage, insurance, taxes, utilities, cleaning is $1,000, we'll bring in about $1,800 for that door. So we average about 1.8 return on our expenses around versus coming in. That makes sense.
Now, you've built up this portfolio, and prior to the short-term rental mindset, have you, when you're approaching properties now, are you just trying to focus more on converting? And how does that work with properties that maybe they weren't really well suited for a short-term rental because you were thinking more just like, just finding those deals? How do you approach the portfolio that you have now?
New acquisitions are just the same. We have a blueprint of what we're looking for in a short term. And if it doesn't fit that blueprint, I will acquire it. We'll hold it for long term. For us, everything is, we have a 10-year model. We don't expect to be rich today, but we're definitely building for the future. So if I can get 5 more homes in the next, month that fit the Airbnb criteria, we'll convert those as well. If I don't, I'll hold them as long term and just let them work for us.
So you guys are not just managing short-term rentals, but you're managing long-term rentals. So you're managing a bunch of different types of people. How do you manage that many properties and that many people? How do you do that?
One word: systems. As simple as that. Being in the military, it definitely helped me understand streamlining systems. This action gets this reaction, so on and so forth. So, I mean, we have the rental software, the obviously the short term software. QuickBooks, everything is automated with rules and that kind of stuff. It's not that hard. I don't joke when I say we spend about 45 minutes a month with our long term rentals. I check pay in and pay out. I check any kind of work orders. If there's a work order, I send it out to the handyman. We don't spend a lot of time with long terms, and we have 23, 27 of those. So it's systemizing. And just like the short term rentals, we spend more time on those, but I would guesstimate a month, 8 hours a month, if I was estimating what we spend on checking things, checking Airbnb, maybe respond, because even we have the auto response set up. We have a little a manager that helps us respond as well. So we don't spend a lot of time dealing directly with clients and directly with homes.
So what type of systems do you have to have in place for scaling this owner finance model, and then transitioning to like a short-term rental model? So what do you need in order to acquire these properties? Are there like systems in place to reach out to these people? Do you have like virtual assistants or anything like that?
We have not used any virtual assistants because what we're developing, I think, is so unique. I haven't come across, I guess, all-encompassing third party that does what we do. I'm sure there may be out there. I just haven't come across it. At minimum, I tell people you have to build your team, whether it be for the long-term portion. You have to have a CPA, you have to have a real estate attorney, you have to have these things in order, you have to have a handyman, you have to have a cleaning crew. You build those people around you. What we see the reason for most entrepreneurs failing because they want to be a one-man show. They want to go clean. They want to change the light bulb out. They want to fix the faucet, and they're taking themselves away from growing the business. Have you heard of the E-Myth, the book The E-Myth? He talks about that. I took that to heart, and that's how we built from day one. So systems is not only having your computer in front of you with software, it's also having a team around you as well to be able to delegate and lean on for people to help you. Because I'm pretty good at a lot of stuff, but I can't be the best at everything. So I hire out for people to help me the stuff I'm not great at. As far as transitioning over to the short terms, I'll let her tell you about the systems that we use, like the price labs and the.
We use dynamic pricing. We use price labs in particular. We use automated messages. We use Smart BNB with that, and we also have a digital guidebook that we use, which we use Hostfully for that. So we have all these systems, and we also have a task managing app that we use, our website, and that's where we delegate who does what, when they do it, that type of thing. Any special instructions with the homes. So, and that's the Monday. It's Monday.com. Yeah, Monday app. So we have those 4 systems in place that kind of help us keep everything together so that we're not constantly kind of missing something or we didn't see, a glitch or something like that.
Yeah, the problem we see with a lot of entrepreneurs is that they don't want to spend that $25 a month on software that's $120 a month on price lab. And I feel like you're going to get that money back tenfold and make your life easier. Yeah. But we want to keep every penny we possibly can because no one can do it better than me. That's not true. There's people out there that are smarter than you at certain aspects. Let them do their job. Let them go out there and make your business better for you.
So, I mean, you guys have just been scaling at like this rapid pace. How do you, what type of, what are you primarily doing now? So what systems have you put in place so that you don't have to do those anymore, so that you could focus your strengths on these certain areas?
Our focus now is refining our operating procedures. Like you said, we did grow really fast. Only downside to that is certain small things you do kind of you overlook small things, and we're kind of going back and making those better. So with the business, you're never like you never conquer one object and think you have it figured out because everything is always evolving. So with the 41 houses, now we're looking to go back and really make our Airbnbs the most efficient as possible. We're updating some of the ones that we acquired first. I'm always refining my lease agreement with my long-term tenants and that kind of stuff. I'm always refining, laws and regulations change every single year. So I'm always making sure that we're protected in certain ways and this and that. So I would say right now is refining and being more efficient.
I'm just curious. I'm just throwing this question out here, but do you find it necessary? Like you don't have a real estate license or anything. You're just managing this portfolio without like any real estate experience.
In my opinion, there's absolutely no need for a realtor license at all. I actually did go get my license in 2015. I went to hang my license with a broker, and he saw my truck that said we buy houses. And he told me I had to take that off my truck. I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you work for me now." I said, "But that company is not me, Adam." He said, "No, everything you do goes through me." I said, "Sir, I appreciate your time. Let me give you an extra 24 hours." And I called him the next day and said it wasn't for me. That was the best decision. Even at that time, we had nothing. We owned nothing. Again, I saw the bigger picture. So there's absolutely no quote unquote need to have a realtor license within your company. Yeah, I have very strong feelings about a realtor license, but no, there's no need in my opinion.
So what has been the most challenging part of scaling your short-term rental and just long-term rental portfolio?
I think right now the most challenging thing is trying to figure out, what works as far as like the turnover rate. I think that's what we've been trying to figure out lately, what we've been working on. When we first started, we didn't really pay attention to how frequently we were turning over. We had like a 1 night minimum, and we were just honestly just happy to get booked. Well, we started growing, and then our cleaning team was getting very overwhelmed because there'd be times where we'd have 7 turnovers in one day. And there were 2 options: either minimize our turnovers, but still stay occupied, or hire on more cleaners. Well, we all know that hiring out can be challenging. And once you have a good team, you just want to hold on to it. So we started playing around with the occupancy stays.
Yeah.
And just kind of figuring out like, okay, can we generate those longer stays? And we started creating different rules, and it's worked.
Yeah.
So now we still can keep our team happy and still stay 100% occupied. Well, I wouldn't say 100%, almost 100% occupied. And just less wear and tear. We didn't really put much thought into it. Like, hey, if you have, 15 turnovers in 1 month, you're talking about utilities, laundry, just, replacing stuff constantly. And we realized that maybe these longer stays are much better for the amount of homes that we have and our team.
Now, cleaning is something that is always kind of the biggest concern with hosts. What have you guys found to be like the optimal situation with, because like, are you just are these like payroll cleaners? Are you hiring out contractors? And how do you keep those people engaged in your business when you do have maybe those odd times? Like it's not a consistent thing.
Yeah. We hire independent contractors. I would say that they're stay-at-home moms, so they don't have, this isn't like their career or anything. It's just their husbands work full-time. They have kids. They need a flexible schedule. So this kind of works for them to make a little bit of extra money. And I think that they just love the flexibility, honestly. They love the flexibility. They work, just a couple hours a day. And they make a little bit of extra money.
So we cleaned the houses for the first probably 3 or 4 months before we hired on help. So in doing so, we learned, and from the feedback from our guests, we learned what everybody's looking for. So we trained our cleaning crews on, what to be expected. Mm-hmm. Kind of that standard operating procedure thing of this is what we expect. And we've had nothing but positive feedback from our clients, and the cleaning crews love it. They're very happy with payout and schedule.
And what are you doing to find your cleaners and get them into your systems?
So our main cleaner right now, we actually found her by accident. We found her on care.com. We needed her to help us out with our kids. and, just kind of talking to her. We needed someone to kind of help us. Actually, it was more of like a backup cleaner. And we said, hey, would you mind being on standby? We have these houses we clean. Do you do cleaning? And she said, yes. She jumped on the opportunity, and she was just a dedicated hard worker from the beginning. Some things took place, and then we ended up giving her more responsibilities. And she's been with us for over a year now. And each time we've given her a lot of responsibilities. Now she really doesn't need us anymore. She doesn't need our guidance. She knows the home. She knows the procedures well enough to take action if necessary. And obviously we as a team decided, hey, we want to continue growing. How do you feel about it? And, can you handle this much? And she was on board. We hired backup helpers to help her and gave her some administrative responsibilities too. So she's the one who actually delegates who cleans what. She tells them exactly how many people are going to be staying for how long, all that stuff, any special instructions. She does all of that. So having the backup cleaners have helped kind of minimize her cleanings so that she can do those administrative jobs. But yeah, we pretty much found them by accident. They just needed some extra money, and
depending on the house, they may be making $1,000 to $2,000 a month in cleanings, and it may take them 25, 30 cleanings. So they love it.
We provide all of the cleaning products. We provide everything. So that also takes away from them having to go and purchase this and that sort of thing. They just show up, they do what they need to do, and leave, and that's it. So we try to make it as easy as possible because, we did it for the first few months. So we know we kind of learn through trial and error, like what works, what's the easiest way to do this. And we've made it happen. And we listen to their feedback. We get their feedback pretty frequently. And if they have, any better suggestions, then we go with it. We don't second guess it.
Now, I'm looking at your units, and man, these are some beautiful places. What do you have systems in place, or what are you doing in order to turn over these units and make these they're really good looking properties?
I will say everything you see, I hung the TV.
Yeah. So early on, we did probably what everybody does, who is on a low budget, buy everything secondhand. It took us almost a month to get the first house ready because we were chasing, trying to find good deals. We just didn't have the budget, and we didn't know if it was going to work or not. And I think by the third house, we realized that it's probably quicker if we just order everything online and build it and have it done within just a few days. And so now we just pretty much copy and paste each house. With as far as the furniture, maybe once we find something that works, we try to stick with it. We use the same mattresses in every home. We use the same bed frames. The only thing that changes is the decor. We use the same TV, everything. So that's what we do. I just go back to my orders list and I just reorder everything. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. We literally make a big Amazon order, maybe $4,000. She'll do some decor shopping locally. And if we have everything, we can get an Airbnb up and running in 3 days. So it took us 3 weeks the first time. Now we're 3 days.
Yeah. And if everything is boxed, you can transport it much easier than everything being built and you're trying to find a trailer or,
How much would you say that is not able to just be shipped and sent directly to the home? Like how much shopping or how much outside of the systems that you do have to do on your own?
So we do our obviously we do our washer and dryer locally. We do the couch and then just the decor pieces. We do at a local place. It's just much easier. I like to see it, up front. It can be kind of deceiving if you're shopping online for, maybe like a canvas picture or something like that. So those things I rather have in front of me versus online. So I would just say that everything else, as far as the bedrooms, furniture,
mattresses,
everything. Yeah. The linens, we purchase them online. We just reorder. We get the feedback from the guests. If they love it, we stick with it. If they hate it, we know to get rid of it. So by now, we know exactly what the guests like. And it's really great because we do have some guests that are returning guests. Maybe they won't stay in the same home, but they'll stay in another house. and they're essentially staying in the same house because they're experiencing the same bed. It's just a different location. So we try to tell them whenever they come back, like, hey, that house isn't available, but a very similar one is, and you can expect the same amenities.
How much would you say that it costs to be able to get a unit fully up and running? Because with the owner financing, I don't know, like, because every situation is going to be different. Maybe someone need like $5,000 to move to their new place, and or they need like so many months of the payment up front. How much would you say that with an owner finance model does it cost to be able to get a unit up?
So with my model, it costs me zero. I know that sounds kind of crazy to maybe your viewers. The way I purchase homes, it doesn't cost me a penny until that first rent is due, or first mortgage payment in my case. I do lease option as secondary. My primary function of acquisition is subject to, which means I literally purchase homes subject to the loan staying in the seller's name, and I pay that mortgage directly to the bank. It costs me nothing, 9 times out of 10. Occasionally, I'll come across a home that needs new flooring, small repairs here and there, but the majority of the homes that we purchased or acquired are zero down, zero for the first month, and they're profitable passive income in 25 days.
That's crazy, because I'm looking at these units, and it's just like, wow, these are beautiful places. And when I think of like subject to or owner financing, I'm usually thinking a little bit more rundown. It's usually someone that's kind of like not in the best position. They need to get out of it. But from these places, these look like luxury units.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're seeing. Of the 13, we probably have painted 6 of them, 5 of them, maybe.
Like maybe half of them we've actually painted and kind of updated the pictures. I mean, it's really more of a facelift that we have to do with these houses, maybe new flooring, like you were saying, painting, and that's pretty much it. But
even that was after the unit, created income for 9 or 10 months, so that paid for the upgrade. But no, I mean, I know it sounds weird. I teach clients this. I don't want to pay money to get into a new house.
So what would you say is kind of different? Because I'm just super curious. Like, there's so many people that are getting into the space, and they maybe feel like they have to go slow because they have to own it, or they have to co-host it, or they have to do rental arbitrage. But you guys have the best of both worlds. You own it, and you're also subletting it. So it's like what is different about your approach as compared to maybe everybody else that is doing maybe the more traditional owner finance model?
We're solutions based. We see a problem, and we've done the research and created the systems to be able to help these people. So I'm able to help a person that can't afford a mortgage because they moved out. I'm able to take over the property and maintain it. I'm able to provide short-term availability for incoming soldiers, outgoing soldiers. I would say if I could give anybody any kind of advice, it would be not to be scared. You can talk yourself out of any opportunity if you let yourself talk yourself out of it. You really can. But if you find the positive and magnify the positive and then go towards that, great things are going to happen.
I actually read a quote, and I've never seen this quote, but it said that fear is a reaction and courage is a decision. And I was like, that was really powerful, because it's true. Naturally, people are scared, and it takes, you have to make your mind up. You have to decide to be courageous and jump into a situation. So that really stuck with me when I read that. I think it was last night.
I mean, you guys are in the trenches. You're doing this. What would you say is the biggest, like the most important things when you're looking at a property that you've kind of learned? Like, what are the biggest mistakes that you could avoid now, having acquired 41 properties? So when you're looking at a new property to take it on, what are those things?
The biggest mistake, or the biggest thing to keep in mind, is being objective. Do not let emotions get through you. You have got to understand that you're buying this home to benefit your family. You can't put yourself in a hardship to help a person that won't help themselves. So that's the biggest thing for us, is having that blueprint, having that criteria, and just staying true to it. Not a bad deal is going to hurt you and your family and your business. It's not going to hurt them. That's what you have to be in mind.
Yeah, I mean, set policies and stick with them. If you have policies in place and you make your mind up that these are the policies, just stick with it. Mm-hmm. Don't bend on, like you said, on emotion or just because and this and that. That's where I think that people respect when you say, hey, this is my policy, this is what I stick with, they'll respect that.
And are these policies when you're acquiring a property, or are these policies that you have for your renters?
Wow.
Yeah, so everything.
So everything we do, there's a reason we do it, and we have our limits. What we like, the final new home, we have our limit of risk. So I'm after this certain point, I'm not okay with my ratios or my return. With tenants, we have a limit of risk that with this credit score and this amount of income, and this size of property, and this amount of pests, we have our limitations. They're black and white on our website, and it is what it is. If you don't abide by our guidelines, our rules and regulations, we can't do it.
So what would you say is like the one house rule that has maybe saved you before, or your biggest policy?
The one rule saved us the most, in my opinion, is our guest count.
Yes.
We have a very strict policy, no more than X amount, and we have the Ring door camera that sees how many people come to our house. That has prevented so many parties and so many things happening. So I think that guest count has been our number one savior, protecting us for potential bad things happening.
Yeah, that definitely has. People forget that these houses are in residential areas and there's neighbors, and we have to keep them just as happy as we want to keep our guests. So there's a reason why we have things in place. It's not because, we don't want to be flexible with guests, but there's other people we have to look out for as well. If neighbors start getting upset because there's too many people at a house and things are happening and their driveways being blocked, then they're going to go complain to the city or the county. And next thing you know, people aren't going to have the privilege to be able to stay in Airbnbs in our community. Mm-hmm. So it's more than just, us. There's other people that we're looking out for too.
And what would you say is your number one policy when you're looking to acquire another property?
I would say you have got to have your no-go location. Every city has that no one's going to go to. You have to, no matter how good the deal seems, how good the money seems, if it's not desirable or ran down, no one wants to be a tenant. No one wants to be there for short term as well. So you got to look past the dollar sign and look long term.
And are there any things that you put in your units that help save you time and money?
Yeah, so the August keypad is a lifesaver. The Ring is super great. We do the Wi-Fi thermostat, allow to put parameters so that our guests can put it up and down, because some guests may care less about your utility bills than you do. So when they put down to 65 in the summertime and leave all day, some put parameters where they kind of keep it manageable.
We lock up our supply closet, all of our supplies is at each location. We convert one of the, either whether it's the bedroom closet or the pantry, whatever has enough space, we convert it into our supply closet so that no matter who shows up to clean, something happened to our cleaner. When they show up, everything is there. So we keep that locked sort of way so that, we don't give the liberty to guests to just go through our stuff and take out extra stuff, or, next thing you know, there's no detergent, or there's not, all the sheets are gone. So we try to keep duplicates of everything. God forbid something happen. There's a backup to everything.
Yeah. So
that's definitely become a lifesaver.
I was going to add that real quick. All those things cost a lot of money up front. The August, the Ring, and well worth it. And I highly recommend those, or some similar system to those for all the people that watch this. You got to have eyes on your property. You got to be able to monitor certain things to keep your costs down, and also for the safety of your clients. Because if something happens at your property, your unit, that Ring or some sort of surveillance could be a liability. It could help you.
That keeps everyone accountable. I think so. It's not that, we want to spy and we want to see what's happening or anything like that. It just keeps everyone accountable. If something does happen, we do have some sort of record to go back on and double check and confirm. I mean, things do happen. And sometimes, you have to protect yourself and you have to be able to prove exactly what happened.
And you guys have some really nice reviews on your listings. What are you doing in order to, what are you doing that helps your guests leave positive reviews?
So the Smart BNB, which is the automated messages, really do help. It keeps us at 100% response rate, which is great. The very next day, we have a automated message that goes out to them the day after they check in to say, hey, well, we have a message that goes out to them before they check in. You know, if they have any questions with special instructions, a quick video on how to use our smart lock, just confirming that they have everything that they need to be able to arrive, you know, whenever, because we, you know, it is a self check-in. So if they want to check in at 1 a.m, they can. And I want to be able to answer any questions within a reasonable time instead of them arriving and no one's answering the phone and they can't get in the house. So we have a message that goes out to them before they arrive, a message the morning after they've checked in, just confirming that everything is good. Are there any concerns, any issues that you want to bring up to us? Let us know. Let us fix it now, you know, instead of waiting. And then we send them a message right before they leave. And then the day after they leave, we send them another message saying, hey, look, you know, thank you for staying. You were a great guest. I hope that you had a great stay. You know, again, kind of if there were any issues, let me know through here. But I hope that you leave us a great review or something like that. So those messages really do encourage those positive reviews and allows them to tell us any little issues or concerns via the message thread instead of the reviews. So those are things that we do try. And if they bring anything up to us, you know, if there's any major issues, we try to fix them immediately. We try to be responsive and understanding. So that's what we try to do.
And what would you do differently if you had to start from scratch?
And we would have probably done a lot more market research. Honestly, I would have. We didn't know that there, like I said, we didn't know there was a demand here. So we kind of tiptoed into it and just kind of said, well, let's see. Instead of saying, no, there's a demand here. Let's do the research. What are people paying? What is the average nightly rate at a hotel? All these things that we should have done on the front end, we would have probably done and done it the right way initially.
Price left.
Yeah, dynamic pricing is, I think, a must. Yeah, we didn't realize how much money we were leaving on the table by not using, you know, I mean, you know, Airbnb always encourages less nightly rates, you know, because they want those people to book. And obviously everybody wants everything at a bargain. But if there's a demand, obviously you can bump up your prices and charge a little bit more money. So that definitely has allowed us to see when the high and lows are, because again, we're not in a touristy location. There's not a high season and a low season. It just kind of varies throughout the year.
Are you guys going to be focusing primarily on just this type of model, the owner finance, the short-term rent, or are you guys going to be diversifying? What's your strategy with this?
So I'm a firm believer of finding your niche and exploiting it. This is what we do, and we're really, really good at it. It's very, very profitable. A lot can be said for focusing on one thing. Too many investors, they track down every lead, every possibility, every flip, every wholesale, every new commercial, whatever it is, you know. So we're great at this. We're getting better every day. We're getting more and more profitable every day, and this is what we're going to be doing for the next probably 5 years at least.
What would be a question that you would ask another professional host? Maybe someone that is doing something different, or someone that's maybe the next level from you guys. What would that be?
I would love to learn more about the details of acquiring at scale the rental arbitrage type of acquisitions. I'll watch a lot of guys on YouTube that do that, and they're doing sometimes 5 units in one apartment complex, you know, at one time. I think it's super interesting. It's not far off of what we do, so I think that'd be an easy not transition, but something we can add to our little toolbox. That's interesting to me, is the rental arbitrage.
Okay, great. And you guys are really big readers. I could tell when you brought up the E-Myth. What's another great book that you could recommend that has kind of changed your business or your life?
Oh, yeah, you ready for a list of 20? The 10X Rule, Grant Cardone, the E-Myth, obviously, How to Make Friends. Well, that's not the whole title, but How to Make Friends. I forgot who wrote that one. There's so many good ones I've read, and I try to take a bit from each of them. The foundation is Rich Dad Poor Dad. His series of like 6 or 7 initial books, read them all. They're all fantastic, and they'll put you where you need to be if you're not there yet, as far as understanding taxes, understanding working for yourself, and understanding your time. Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week. I can go on and on. I love those self, business promoting books. I love those.
And what about you, Asury?
Well, as far as short-term rentals, forgot what his name is. Danny Rustine with Optimize Your Airbnb. That book is actually everything that he said, I plugged and played. I took it, whatever he said, I tried it out. It worked. I was like, oh my gosh, go to the next chapter, try it out. It worked. So that book was very simple, to the point. No extra fluff on anything. You just honestly just follow the book. It tells you, and all of them, and he offers promo codes on all of them. So you actually get them at a discounted rate, some of those systems that he suggests.
That's awesome. Yeah.
For your clients or anybody starting the real estate, I wrote a book. It's on Amazon right now, doing really well. It's called First Step, Starting Your Real Estate Business. It's taking off right now, and it's helping people begin day one, starting their entity, building their team, what documents are needed, the flow of negotiations. It's helping people start their business, and we're very happy about that. Very proud of it.
I'll include that in the show notes. I'm excited to read that as well. I think what you guys are doing is so awesome. Danny's actually going to be one of the next guests on our show, so excited for that as well. But me too. But awesome. Thank you just so much for you guys for coming on the show. You guys have just a wealth of knowledge, and I'm excited to read and share your book and learn more and see where you guys are going. Love to get you on the show. Maybe once you get to 100 units, I'm sure that'll happen. But we'll see what type of systems and things you have in place that have allowed you to scale up to that. But until next time, Host Nation, keep on hosting. Hope you hosts benefited from the show. If you found value, please go on over to iTunes, leave us a review, and let us know what you enjoy about the show. If you'd like to talk to hosts that have been featured in these episodes as well as the community, go on over to our Facebook group, The Host Nation. Talk to you hosts in the next episode. Keep on hosting.